So why don't you describe what your job is here first?
Well, here at the Golden Door, we now have 600 acres of land. And encompassed in that 600 acres is the spa here, which has the traditional Japanese garden. We have about an acre of organic vegetables, biodynamic vegetables, which we might talk about later. We have the citrus here at the Golden Door, Citrus Grove, 60 acres of avocado on top of the mountain. And on the new properties next door, we have another 60 acres of grapefruits, lemons, and oranges. And so every inch of that land, that 600 acres, is my responsibility. Working with the different crews. So we have a landscape crew, we have a vegetable garden crew, we have a farm crew, and then we have grove managers who take care of the commercial avocados and citrus.
What is a garden, really?
What is a garden? A garden is where man takes, it's a co-creative process between nature and man. And so it's an opportunity for man to interact with nature, but it's also an opportunity for nature to interact with man.
You know, gardens historically have been anything from Versailles, which was a status symbol, to a victory garden following World War II where it would save your life. So where are we now in the process with people in gardens, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's been a renaissance in the victory garden concept in that we have become, as a culture, more health conscious, and we're more concerned with what we consume, what we bring into our bodies, what we are exposed to in our environment. And one of the ways that we can have control over that is through growing our own food, having our own gardens in our own backyards, and knowing where that food came from.
So if you were going to describe to somebody here who said, well, how can I do this? How can an individual start to think about having a garden, whether it's the size of this table or something larger out in the backyard?
Well, again, all it takes is, it could be a pot of herbs. So you have to have the willingness to gather a little soil, take a shovel and turn it in your backyard, or go to the store, buy a bag of soil, put it in a pot, get a half a wine barrel, and get some plants. And I think one of the most magical things that a person can do is actually buy some seeds and put some seeds in some dirt and give it some water and see what happens.
In looking at your pictures, one of the things that becomes very clear in a garden is a sense of community. Mm-hmm. So will you talk about that? Because it looks as if you've built that community, and clearly here there are any number of people who are working out in the gardens,
right,
and working under your tutelage.
Well, in the photos, and as we have here, is the relationship between the garden and the kitchen, and the chef and the gardener. So in the pictures you saw the garden staff gardening, but then the chefs would come and they would help harvest, they would help plant, they would come up to see what was coming down the pike, what was going to be harvested over the next month or two, and to build their menus. So the same thing happens here at the Golden Door.
Where are you taking us that is not to that place with that kind of supermarket tomato?
Well, it's the development of commercial agriculture and modern agriculture, where the farms are trying to feed communities beyond their local area. So industrial agriculture wants to feed all of America. So we grow tomatoes in the Sacramento Valley, and they get shipped to Washington, D.C. or New York City or Dallas. And so in that industrialization of agriculture, techniques were developed to preserve the quality of the tomato or the produce, which meant that it needed to be able to fall off the truck at 60 miles an hour and not become bruised. So a lot of commercial produce is picked before it's ripe, before it develops sugar and flavor and color. And it is either allowed to ripen under atmospheric conditions that allow it to develop color, but not necessarily flavor. And so that's the industrialization of agriculture. So the movement now is to bring our food sources to a locavore, and seasonal. And so through doing that, we get produce that is harvested at its peak ripeness and is delivered in a short period of time. We have to think that food is one of the most vital sources for our personal health. And so if we can look at food as being medicine and sustenance and go to the extra length to find good quality food that will support us and give us the opportunity to develop as individuals to reach our true potential. So if we go to McDonald's and we eat lousy food, we diminish our potential as individuals. If we seek out organic produce that hasn't been exposed to sprays and chemicals and it's not a GMO, that truly, when we consume that food on a regular basis, it takes us up as individuals to reach a higher potential in terms of our evolutionary development and what we can do on this planet.
What happened for you that really went ka-chunk that got you into this? From where was the turning point for you that made you so committed to this?
There's been many.
Right.
One was I was visiting a farm. I wasn't farming. I'd always had vegetable gardens, but I was more in landscape and nursery work, and went out into this field of lettuce, and I looked down and I saw this one head of lettuce that was just incredibly beautiful. It was this perfect mandala. And there was a moment when I said, I need to grow food. That's what I need to do. I've grown all this other stuff, but I should just grow food. And it was just this meditation on this lettuce for 2 minutes that just gave me that inspiration.
But in our culture now, there's this big divide between anybody here can go and buy organic food.
Right.
And then, there's a different group of people out in the culture who are struggling to get by. Where's this going?
Well,
that's really my larger question.
Well, there's the concept of the community garden. So within a community, you can find space to grow your own food on a small plot. And generally, you don't have to pay for that, or maybe you pay a small dues monthly or yearly, but you can buy a couple, $10, $15 worth of seeds, and sow those seeds in that small plot, tend it, and there you are, you're connected. You're connected to the source of where your food's coming from. And not only are you growing food, but you're growing yourself.
And do it with your children.
Oh, yes.
So if we start out with a little garden box like this, what should we put in there first?
Lettuce, radishes, turnips, a few herbs. The radishes, you can have radishes in 30 days, turnips you can have in 40 days, lettuce you can have in 60 days. You can plant, so you can go to any nursery or Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and you can buy some herb plants, and even just a container with herbs so that you can have a little bit of mint, and during the summer a little basil and some cilantro or some thyme. And so, when you begin, what I'm realizing is the value of the herbs as medicinal. So eating fresh thyme is it's an anti-carcinogen. Using thyme oil to fight cancer now. And so you can have that little bit, once, twice a week, and then you're building your immune system into a higher level of strength that will keep you hopefully disease-free.
So this is a question. So, the world is on fire with kale, right? Kale. It's in everything. It's in the kale is having its moment.
Yes.
Right? Should it be having its moment? Should its moment be over already, or is it there really?
Well, I think kale has got its place in the Parthenon of vegetables now.
Yes.
It's nutritionally jam-packed. It's got nutrition, and I think that's what we're seeking. We're seeking for where can we get the most out for our buck.
Go ahead.
But I think you're going to find that there's other things that are going to replace it. I think watercress.
It's coming.
Just mark my word. I think watercress is going to be the next big thing.